Oh, we're the good old boys of MAGA, MAGA USA. We're dumber than a sack of hammers, that's what people say. We take the Constitution and we started up a war. We rounded up the immigrants and pushed them out the door. We tore the East Wing down when we had nothing else to do. We changed the color of the pool and tried to make it blue. We're good at doing stupid things 'cause we don't have a clue. And lying is our best defense because we hate the truth. Oh, we're the good old boys of MAGA, MAGA USA. We're dumber than a sack of hammers, what more can we say? We tank the Constitution 'cause we really do not care. We're trying to sack election laws because we don't play fair. The Democrats are saying that we're breaking all the laws, and some are even trying to prove that we've committed fraud. We've been accused of hiding things inside the Epstein files. They say we are protecting those they think are pedophiles. Oh, we're the good old boys of MAGA, MAGA USA. We're dumber than a sack of hammers, that's what people say. We take the Constitution 'cause we just don't give a shit. And once we're gone it doesn't matter, we'll be really rich. Oh, we're the good old boys of MAGA, MAGA USA. We're dumber than a sack of hammers, what else can we say? But we control the White House and we dictate all your rights. Oh, say, can you see? We just turned out the lights. Oh, we're the good old boys of MAGA. We're the good old boys of MAGA. We're the good old boys of MAGA. MAGA USA.
The Persian people, they're incredible, smart, brilliant actually. And I know so many. I know coming from New York, originally I know so many people from around. They're incredible people, incredible energy and very, very brilliant people. But when you're standing in a group and protesting and you have a woman, in the case of the woman, remember the Great Woman March, everybody was saying, oh, this is the end of the country. And then snipers selectively picked. Every single one was shot right between the eyes from a long distance. They were on top of buildings. Nobody even knew where they were, where they're coming from. This wasn't like a machine gun, which is also very bad. They've done that too. They did that recently. This was snipers sitting on the top of buildings, aiming and hitting women. And when they see people go down and all of a sudden there's a riot in the reverse direction, and they never came out again. And a lot of the news doesn't talk about that. They talk about, oh, women's rights. You want to see women's rights? You're not going to see it there. It's amazing when I see some of the stupid people like, you know, AOC +3, all that group. They talk about, oh, freedom for Iran. They don't tell you the real facts. Women, men, gays. How about gays for Iran? They kill the gays. They throw them off buildings. So I wonder what's going on. I can only say this. They want us to keep bombing, even if it jeopardizes, because their life is in much greater danger. They want freedom for Iran, but it's very hard for them to protest. I actually tell them, I said, don't go out. I fully understand. Nobody in this room would go out. I don't think there's any, because frankly, it's not a question of bravery. We're all brave, right? You're brave, I'm brave, we're all brave. But we're also intelligent. If you have people shooting at you, expert shots with the best rifles you can get, and hitting you right between the eyes every single time, and you're looking here and you're seeing and you're looking here, you're out of there. I don't care who it is. Please.
Mark Meredith, Fox News.
I know that.
Oh, thank you.
How would I know that? Go ahead.
America's watching. No.
Good job.
Can we go back to the weekend? First off, was everyone on board with the operation, or were there people that were trying to talk you out of going through with the operation this weekend?
Not everybody was on board.
Somebody else within
No,
you?
there was military people, very professional, that preferred not doing it. These two were totally on board, which was very important. If they weren't, it would have had a little difficulty. But no, there were military people that said, you just don't do this. You don't go into the heart of a very powerful military. You know, this is, hey, you have countries and countries. You have some countries where military is not their strong suit. This whole thing is militarized like nobody's ever seen before. Half the people are wearing uniforms. And we had people within the military. Usually it's not done. That's one of the reasons. You know, I was surprised. Somebody said it's the only time it's ever been done. I said, that's not possible. But it is possible because you're going into hundreds of thousands of soldiers along the path. I mean, look at some of the helicopters, how they got hit. So, yeah, there were people within the military that said it's a wise. And don't forget, how many men did you send altogether, approximately, for the operation?
I'd love to keep that a secret.
Okay, well, but I will tell you, the number, I'll keep it a secret, but it was hundreds. And hundreds of these people, it's pretty good. Is he central casting? But hundreds of people went into this journey. Hundreds of people could have been killed. Forget about the equipment, a lot of equipment, nobody cares. Hundreds of people could have been killed. So we had people that were within the military that said this is not a wise, and I understood that, but I decided to do it.
Was there a point that that you were thinking there's too much on the line, and somebody was saying maybe we abort this now and wait? I mean, given the resource, like the general said, it seemed like there was so much on the line here. You must have been thinking, well, this could have completely changed the next 3 years.
So the first one, which was in many ways as dangerous as the second, I guess it gets, because we're flying over daylight. You know, we're the best at the world at night. We have goggles that we have goggles. I've tried them. They're unbelievable. I see better with the goggles at night than I see without them during daylight. I mean, daylight today, we have a beautiful day. You see just as well with goggles. In many ways, it's enhanced. So we have the best in the world. So it's much safer for us to do it at night, whereas other people, no other country has that capability. They don't have that particular piece of equipment like we do. But when I was told flying and in daylight, I think we flew 7 hours over Iran, and that's a long time, over unbelievably hostile territory where they have nothing but weapons. We took out their anti-aircraft, which is great. We took out their radar, which is great. We took out a lot, but they still have, you know, what hit this one was a handheld shoulder missile, heat-seeking missile. So it's not like, you know, they're totally whatever. But, and they have probably a little luck because you got to get. They didn't say it's a foolish mission. They said, you know, we're going to be sacrificing hundreds of people do this. This is, I mean, you have tankers that are flying over this area so that the flight was so long they had to refuel. It's a very dangerous mission. I just felt it was worth it. If you would have told me that we would have been successful, gotten both, and nobody was even essentially injured, I would have said that would be impossible. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Well, I'll come back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Given that you are now dealing, you say, with a more reasonable, less extreme leadership in Iran, what does that mean for the protesters, for the human rights movement in that country after this conflict?
Well, I
What's
think
your
positive.
expectation?
Yeah, if they assume control, if we do something and they assume control, I think it's very positive, a big step. I don't think you'd see the radicalization that you have seen in the last. Look what happened. I mean, women are being executed because they're not properly clothed, they say. They're not properly clothed, and they execute the women. They shoot them right on the street. No, you have a much different group of people. Now, I'm not saying we are dealing with them. Essentially, they have till 8 o'clock tomorrow night, Eastern time. but we are dealing with them. I think it's going well. Mr. Witkoff is here, and JD's involved in the dealing. Mr. Witkoff is sitting right here, and I think it's going fine, but we'll have to see. You have to understand, we've been dealing with these people for 47 years. I'm standing here with a much more powerful Iran as of a month ago, not anymore. Right now, they are decapitated. But I'm standing here a month ago with a much more powerful Iran than it was at any point during 47 years. This should have been handled by 7 presidents, a lot of presidents. And those presidents are saying now, every one of them to their friends, we should have done this a long time ago. So it's not something I like doing. It's very dangerous, and we're getting them at the height of their strength. If I didn't terminate the Barack Hussein Obama Iran nuclear deal, they would have had a, don't forget, that was a path to a nuclear weapon. Remember this. He chose Iran over Israel, pure and simple. How Israel can vote for a Democrat is if you're Jewish in New York City or any place else in this country, and how you can vote for a Democrat is unbelievable, because he chose Iran, a very hostile Iran.
Trump's behavior and Blanche's behavior and everybody else's behavior, because there are a lot of ways they could have made this go away, right? They could have redacted less. They could have revealed more. They could have done what they said they were going to do in terms of revealing them, and they don't. And so why not? What is underlying all of this? And there are 2 things that I think seem most likely. One is Trump did some really awful stuff, right? Trump did some criminal stuff with young girls, and he's been accused of that, but I think he's afraid that it's going to lead into a place that could have, the darkest kind of ramifications for him. I also think, and here I'm, you know me, I'm not very conspiracy theory drawn, but somehow the relationship between Melania and Epstein, I think, is a real exposed nerve. And there are a couple of these releases recently that come from this model that she used to be friends with. And when I read them, I think, wait just 1 minute here. Is Melania putting a lot of pressure on him? Does she not want us to get into the truth about her past and who she was and what her relationship was with all of this? Anyway, I think this is sort of, part of the origin story of Trump as a comic.
Paolo Zampalli, the man behind the camera. To the outside world, Paolo Zampalli was known as an international modeling agent, and posters showing young 13 and 14-year-old models, supposedly living their dreams in the fashion capitals of the world. He called his company a bridge between talent and opportunity. He promised young girls from small towns and struggling families that he could transform their lives. He spoke about magazine covers, luxury apartments, and careers that would take them around the globe. But behind the carefully designed image was a much darker reality. Investigators would later discover that Paolo Zampalli agency was not built on finding talent. It was built on exploiting and trust and trafficking child to the United States to Epstein, on Epstein's Island. He used the appearance of a legitimate business to gain access to vulnerable young women and girls, targeting those who believed his promises of a better future. The illusion. As the years passed, connections were revealed. The man who had spent years creating a fantasy empire suddenly found himself facing the secrets he had worked so hard to hide. Greatest mistake was believing that a perfect image could hide the truth forever. The same cameras he used to create his illusion eventually became the tools that exposed him. Amanda Ungaro was 17 years old when she first arrived in the United States in 2002. The Brazilian model flew to New York from Paris on a private jet belonging to Jeffrey Epstein. There she met Melania Naus, now Melania Trump, who was an escort for Jeffrey Epstein. Melania Trump was in the United States for about 2 years before she met Donald Trump. Slovenia was her country, where she was a call girl and a low-level model before meeting Paolo Zampalli. Melania came here in 1996 on a B-1/B-2 tourist/visitor visa. October 1996, after meeting Epstein, she obtained an H-1B visa, That's called the Epstein visa. That visa is reserved for individuals with extraordinary ability.
Trump's effort to undermine our elections just hit a devastating roadblock. In the immediate aftermath of his big presidential address seeking to undermine trust in our elections, the guy who Trump specifically hired to investigate elections made a pretty damning admission. This is video from MS Now's Vaughn Hilliard. This is John Solomon, who Trump hired at the White House to investigate elections.
You acknowledge that there were no votes changed in 2020.
All I can acknowledge is what the intelligence shows, right? I only know the intelligence community has zero evidence that someone has flipped, that a foreign power flipped a vote in 2020, 22, or 24.
And you have you're able to acknowledge.
We're not through all the documents.
You're able to acknowledge that Venezuela has not tampered with voting machines in the United States.
No, the intelligence is very clear. They did it on their own machines. Why is it important that they did it on their machines? Their machine protocols are the same as America. Why? Because for a long time they did exactly.
And so the 2020 election was in fact the results as the American public.
I'm still researching, so let me. This is the first.
But there's no intelligence.
Not yet.
He's gotta go.
There is no intelligence that the election would have said that Donald Trump was
president. The
president.
president said that tonight.
So even the guy who Trump specifically brought on to validate his claims of election fraud says that there was no foreign interference in the election. And of course you can hear Caroline Leavitt full freak out mode trying to shuttle him away. Now, this comes in the aftermath of Trump's lie-riddled speech trying to undermine our elections. He said that China got access to 200 million voter files, that Venezuela was using software that could flip votes, that 250,000 non-citizens were on the voter rolls. Fact checkers have already come out and debunked all of this. For example, the voter files that China got access to are just available for sale online. Venezuela experimenting with being able to manipulate their software is not something that could have been done abroad, and that's according to our own CIA. And those 250,000 non-citizens on the voter rolls is exaggerated by about 225,000. And by the way, there is no evidence that undocumented immigrants on the rolls have actually cast any ballots. It's worth noting that this issue in particular was studied in Utah. No Democrats there to gum up the works. Utah Republicans looked at the entire 2 million voters on the voter rolls there in search of undocumented immigrants. They found one, and that person never actually cast a ballot. So why is Trump doing this? Because he's desperate to seize control of how elections are run in this country. His DOJ is suing 31 states for their unredacted voter rolls. If you got the DHS demanding access to run those rolls through citizenship verification systems that keep wrongly flagging eligible voters. You've got the Save America Act that would amount to a federal takeover of state-run elections. Republicans keep refusing to rule out sending ICE to the polls. So they're definitely trying, but they haven't been able to succeed. They've been stymied by the courts and judges and the filibuster, you name it. So clearly they need to try a new route, a new justification to shoehorn through some more aggressive executive action. But you need a pretext to do that. You can't just declare that you're taking over elections or passing some major executive reforms. You need some excuse. And that is what we're seeing right now. This is the foundation being laid for Donald Trump to try and claim election fraud. The system is broken, and China or Venezuela or whatever other country he lands on today is going to steal our elections, and he has to take extraordinary action to prevent that from happening. Is it true? Not at all. But it doesn't need to be true. He just needs people to believe it. And by the way, that is a recurring theme. Remember this from the aftermath of the 2020 election?
On December the 27th, there was a phone call between President Trump and the acting attorney general and his deputy. According to notes taken by that deputy, they told Mr. Trump, understand that the DOJ can't and won't snap its fingers and change the outcome of the election. It doesn't work that way. And Mr. Trump responded, just say that the election was corrupt and leave the rest to me and our councilman.
See?